It's no secret that the mind can play tricks on us, and in fact, your mind is one of the most powerful assets that you have. That's why it's so important to know how to manage the thoughts that are streaming in your head. To let us in on how to do that is the author of 13 Things Mentally Strong People Don't Do. Welcome via Skype, Amy Morin. Hi, Amy. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you. 13 things that people should not do. Firstly, what does it mean to have mental strength?
Mental strength, it's really a three-pronged approach. It's about regulating your thoughts so that your thoughts are not overly negative, but also not overly positive. It's figuring out how do you think realistically. And the second part is figuring out how do you control your emotions so that your emotions don't control you. And finally, the third part is choosing to behave productively despite whatever circumstances you find yourself in.
So it's important to have those three tools, I'll say, to yourself, but oftentimes many of us have emotions that really kind of rear their ugly heads and get us out of control. Can you give us one pointer to keep those emotions under check, Amy?
Yeah, if you want to change how you feel, the two tricks are you have to change how you think and change how you behave. So often if we're feeling bad, our thoughts center around just ruminating and rehashing whatever event is going on that's making us feel bad. And so the trick can be just figuring out how do you change the channel, get up and go do something else to distract yourself so that you don't just keep thinking about it over and over again.
So find a way to not focus on it, but shift your thinking, shift your attention, like you said, and move on so that you're not stuck, right?
Exactly.
What are some things that people should not do to help them get more mental strength?
Well, the first one on my list is that mentally strong people don't feel sorry for themselves. And certainly when we encounter tough circumstances, it's normal to feel bad or it's normal to grieve when something sad happens, but feeling sorry for ourselves goes beyond that. It's really about focusing on how bad our life is and exaggerating our problems. So the trick becomes, how do you let go of self-pity? And one thing is you exchange self-pity for gratitude. And by choosing to be thankful for the good that you have in your life, even when you're going through a rough patch, can make a huge difference.
You know, that's important. So I like to tell my clients, have that self-pity party for maybe 30 seconds or 30 minutes or whatever, but then move on, like you say, right? What else?
Yeah.
What else do people do that need to have strong mental powers, mental strength?
Well, you know, we only have so much power and energy in our life, and so the trick is don't give it away. Mentally strong people don't give away their power. And by that, I mean that you can't blame other people for how you think and feel and behave. And so somebody might say, well, my boss makes me feel bad. But the truth is, nobody can make you feel anything. They can influence how you feel, but they can't make you feel that way. And also, maybe somebody says, my boss makes me work late. But the truth is, your boss doesn't make you work late. Sure, there might be consequences if you choose to go home on time, but you're making that choice. And sometimes just simply switching your language to recognize the power and the choices that you have in life can really make a big difference.
So you're saying we're giving our power away, not all the time, but too frequently, and take that power back.
Absolutely.
So what other habits do people have that decrease or take away from their mental strength or their mental power?
Another one is that people often shy away from change. And the truth is
Yeah.
the world changes whether we want it to or not. And so our options are to either change with it or to resist that change. And figuring out how do you embrace change even when it's uncomfortable. And we really like our comfort zones and we try to stay stuck in our comfort zone as much as possible, but you won't grow there. And to figure out how do you learn to tolerate the discomfort associating with stepping outside your comfort zone. And the more that you do that, the more you'll gain confidence in your ability to handle that distress, and it gets easier over time.
So how do we do that? Because change, like you said, change is an ever constant. It's not going to go away, and you live a life and there are so many changes. Some are predictable, some are totally unpredictable, but they happen. What do we need to do with ourselves to make us be able to handle a particular shift that we're not used to?
One thing is to examine the thoughts that we have. Sometimes we over exaggerate how bad things are going to be, where we tell ourselves it's going to be horrible, or we underestimate our own ability by saying, you know, I can't handle that. I can't handle change. It's too scary, too risky. And so to really be able to look at the situation much more realistically and to remind yourself, I can do this and I can handle it. And then to do it anyway, and to give yourself confidence that even though something's anxiety provoking, nobody dies from anxiety. It's uncomfortable, but you can stand it. And the more that you practice that, the easier it gets.
You're talking about practicing it and also making something like that a habit so that it gets comfortable and we get familiar with it and we can continue with it. Is that what you did in your own life to be able to handle change and to develop that mental strength?
Yeah, you know, when I sat down and I wrote my list of the 13 things, it was really a letter to myself. I'm a therapist, and so I inherently knew a lot of these things, but I had gone through a series of tragedies. My mother had passed away very suddenly, and then I lost my 26-year-old husband very unexpectedly as well. And then a few years after that, my father-in-law was diagnosed with terminal cancer. And I sat down and I wrote this list of the 13 things mentally strong people don't do as a way to remind myself of all the bad habits I had to avoid if I wanted to stay as strong as possible while I faced my circumstances.
And you did, and you've become stronger, and you're really teaching other people how to develop and keep that mental strength. Thank you so much, Amy.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Still ahead, owning a home is an investment, right? But so why are so many people dropping unnecessary money into their homes? Find out more when we return.